It all starts in a chill neighborhood where kids are gathering around a local raffle booth. The guy running it calls Jinho's name and lets him know the winning ticket is number 35. Feeling himself, the kid holds his prize and celebrates, saying he already felt his lucky streak coming. Meanwhile, the booth owner is low-key salty, wondering how many giant candy fish this kid is going to wipe out. Determined to never set foot in that neighborhood again, the vendor watches the kid offering the massive candy to the other kids. Lady Luck seemed to ride shotgun with the guy even in the smallest details, always sharing everything with the playground squad. He was pretty much considered the Go8 by everyone there. For as long as he can remember, Jinho knows he's been playing life on easy mode. Even so, he admits he never really gave this crazy gift much thought, just taking it one day at a time. The grown-up MC now spends his late nights glued to his PC. Like any normal gamer, he's grinding online while his teammates are practically begging him to hurry up. The squad warns him the prize is probably garbage and highly doubts an S-tier weapon is going to drop. But one of the players bets 1 million gold coins if he manages to pull the rare item from the chest on the screen. Hyped about the bet, the guy tells his friend to put his money where his mouth is, while reflecting on his weird gift. It's hard for him to put into words, but that familiar vibe starts kicking in. His whole body gets the tingles while he grips the gaming mouse. In that hype moment, the suspense of the click takes over his dark room. As soon as he hits the button, the virtual chest bursts open with a blinding flash. The screen drops an ultra-rare sword, and his friends are absolutely shook by the pull. They can barely wrap their heads around those ridiculous drop rates, while Jinho flexes about always delivering on his promises. Relieved with the results, he stretches in his gaming chair after the long raid. But all that hype fizzles out when he realizes this superpower is totally useless IRL. For 2 years now, his daily grind has literally just been locked in his room, gaming non-stop. Piling up job rejections on his phone, he mutters that these companies don't know real talent when they see it. Bummed out by yet another, "We regret to inform you," text, he sighs over failing right at the second interview stage. The rejections keep blowing up his device as he walks down the snowy street looking totally defeated. Having 100 resumes ghosted completely wrecked his self-esteem. With 0 other options, the guy just dove deeper and deeper into his virtual matches. His real life felt way too pathetic to actually face head-on. The mental burnout was super obvious in his blank, gloomy stare. His mom had left him a $50 bill with a sweet note telling him to order some dinner. Feeling like he finally hit rock bottom, he decides today is the day he unplugs from this lifestyle. His guildmates are caught off guard and ask if they messed up for him to want to bounce. Calmly, the guy explains that the issue has absolutely nothing to do with the squad. When he drops the news that he's going to focus on job hunting, the vibe in the game's lobby completely shifts. His friends totally get the pressure he was under and mourn the loss of the rookie from the team. Right then, a private DM from the guild leader pops up in the corner of his screen. The leader asks where he went to college, and Jinho confirms he went to Jinsen University. The chat goes on, and the MC reveals he actually has a degree in business admin. Happy with the answer, the boss tells him to stop wasting time spamming resumes everywhere. The direct invite to go work at his company catches the guy completely off guard. Absolutely mind blown, the young dude can barely process the text he just read. The higher up lets him know he doesn't have crazy high expectations for his initial performance. The only requirement is that he does exactly what he did in the game, making the rookie practically fall out of his chair in shock. Still in disbelief, Jinho tries to figure out what kind of company his mystery gamer buddy was actually running. His resume only showed basic certificates and 0 relevant experience. Even so, the direct order from the board was to drop him right into the trading department. The head of operations is totally confused by this call coming straight from the CEO. The boss finds it super weird, since it's the first time a resume just spawns out of nowhere like this. There's only one logical conclusion for everyone in the room. He's clearly an unquestionable, direct hire from the big boss himself. In corporate slang, Jinho officially became the legendary industry plant. Far from the office gossip, the official stock market grind starts right on the dot at 9 in the morning. However, prep work demands absolute focus starting bright and early at 8:30. Because of the auction closings, the shift drags on until 3:40 in the afternoon. That's over 7 hours and 10 minutes of pure, non-stop stress staring at monitors. The whole time, the market charts don't stop bouncing around like crazy on the screens. the office turns into a silent war zone where money flies around like bullets. Annoyed, Park is still trying to swallow this weird situation forced onto him. Bringing an absolute noob into this chaos seemed insane, while the MC politely introduces himself. Looking super determined, the guy waits for his first set of instructions at the new gig. When asked about his background, he admits he's never even touched a paper trading simulator before. Shaking his head, the manager groans about having to teach a complete amateur from scratch. To management, the rookie just looks like dead weight shoved down their throats by the board. Soon enough, the boss calls over employee Lee Hai-rin to take the wheel. Her mission now is to show the new guy the ropes and how things actually work around there. Super helpful and hyped, she accepts the quest immediately. Walking down the busy hallway, she shows off the massive office where he'll be spending his days. Still shocked by everything, he can hardly believe he scored a spot in such a pro environment. Finding out his gaming buddy is the CEO of one of the top 10 brokerage firms in the country was a massive plot twist. The first practical lesson of the day literally just involves operating the breakroom coffee machine. His coworker warns him that the traders survive purely on caffeine, and everything needs to be ready before the meeting. But team leader Park is the one exception, since he treats his body like a temple and avoids the stuff. The tour continues, detailing how the workload there is brutal and calculated in literal seconds. According to her, the place is like a giant casino where hundreds of billions change hands daily and totally wreck people's mental health. Throwing on a serious face, Hai-rin stares the rookie down and asks if he thinks he can handle the heat. The guy goes quiet for a sec, soaking in the heavy vibe of the chaotic room around him. Then, his coworker gives him a friendly slap on the back, saying she was just messing with him, since every job is kind of the same at the end of the day. Breathing a sigh of relief, Jin-ho suggests they make at least one promise since they're coworkers now. Super hyped, she points at him and agrees that, no matter how crazy things get, neither of them will ghost the other without warning. Taking in her infectious energy, the MC realizes his new mentor is a pretty unique character. He clenches his fists, feeling determined that, with such a supportive veteran having his back, maybe he can actually pull this off. The grind kicks off again in a meeting room, where the staff discusses how the American indexes are beating expectations. The debate gets heated over the strength of the dollar, and how foreign buying in the tech sector is putting pressure on the market. Sizing up the situation, Leader Park warns that opposing positions are going to take a massive hit if this trend keeps up. Then, he orders them to prep hedging strategies using funds and futures contracts, and the team is instantly on it. While the meeting pops off, Jin-ho is sweating bullets, realizing he has absolutely zero clue what anyone is talking about. Staring out at the city skyline, he seriously starts questioning if he's going to survive in this place. Later in the stairwell, he calls his old guildmate, trying to call him Emmer CEO, but his buddy laughs and tells him to just call him bro. The guy confirms he made it to work in one piece, but immediately vents that he feels like he's just going to be dead weight for the company. On the other end, the boss chills his buddy out, saying he trusts him, bringing up how Jin-ho was always polite and a hard worker in the game. The CEO explains that Jin-ho always carried him during virtual raids, so he wanted to return the favor, plus he admits the game is totally boring without him. Touched by the genuine words, the guy mutters his friend's name, feeling a bit of the heavy burden lift off his shoulders. Looking out the window of his fancy office, the exec advises the rookie to treat his bosses as well as he treated the guild members. Right before hanging up, the big shot warns him that if anyone asks how he got the job, he better play totally dumb. The MC stares at his phone screen in silence, processing that super shatty final tip from his boss. With a heavy sigh, he tries to shake off the anxiety and just focus on what actually matters right now. Just then, a voice calls him back to the floor, and he answers quickly, jogging back to his desk. The hot topic around the monitors right now is the firm's paper trading simulator. Hai-rin mentions she actually won a college competition using one of those and asks if he's practiced a bunch with it. Super awkward, the guy admits he has zero practical experience with anything, leaving the veteran trader a bit stunned. Trying to brush past the awkward vibe, he clicks his mouse and asks what the actual point of these simulations is. Very patiently, she explains that the company would never just hand real cash to a junior who hasn't proven themselves yet. Using virtual funds is basically to mirror the real market and build the employees' XP until they level up. Paying close attention, Jinho asks if crushing it in the simulator is the fast track to becoming a senior at the firm. Smiling, the girl confirms and says that in the financial world, whoever makes the most bank is king, regardless of their resume. Locked in, the guy finds this brutal, results-driven logic way easier to grasp than all the boring textbook theories. The stock exchange's digital clock flips exactly to 9 in the morning, kicking off the daily madness. The whole office seems to explode, with phones ringing off the hook and people shouting orders left and right. Staying totally chill in the eye of the storm, his mentor officially announces that the market is open for business. The team leader is already glued to his phone while the room, which was dead silent a minute ago, is now buzzing with crazy energy. Giant monitors start blinking wildly with stock numbers tanking or mooning non-stop. The traders' fingers are flying across their keyboards at insane speeds to lock in trades at the perfect time. The whole crew turns into a hyper-focused squad, where 1 second of lag could cost their clients an absolute fortune. Watching the chaos unfold, the MC finally understands first-hand what it really means to work at a top-tier brokerage. A drop of sweat rolls down his face as he just tries his best not to get in the way of the room's frantic workflow. Out of nowhere, a familiar chill hits his fingers while holding the mouse, catching him totally off guard. An invisible flash seems to glow from his hand, like an energy only he can see in the middle of the crowded office. Super confused, he stares at his glowing hand, trying to process the intense, sudden feeling. It's the exact same crazy intuition that always hit him right before pulling an ultra-rare drop in his online games. Next to him, the girl points at the chart, warning him that the blue color means a dangerous dip in the stock's price limit. Noticing he's totally zoning out, she looks confused while he ponders this unexplainable cheat code he's had since he was a kid. The mouse cursor dangerously hovers over the boy button while he remembers this luck never did anything for him in the real world. His eyes lock onto the screen as that unmistakable tingling spreads through every fiber of his being. A smile of pure confidence pops up on his face when he feels the chill run down his spine, just like those late-night gaming sessions. Without hesitating for a second, the rookie clicks the button hard, executing an instant buy order on the simulator. Completely blindsided by the wild move, his mentor asks what on earth he thinks he's doing. Her shock instantly turns into full-blown panic when she sees the transaction go through on the screen. Freaking out, she demands to know why he just dumped a market order into a stock that was free, falling like a rock. Pointing wildly at the charts, she tries to show him the blue indicator that was practically screaming danger. She stresses that it meant guaranteed losses, making the guy sweat bullets and ask if he should just panic, sell it all right now. Stressed out, the coworker tells him to hold, praying the line turns red soon so they can salvage the wreckage. The MC awkwardly scratches the back of his neck, apologizing for the massive impulse buy. Taking a deep breath, Hai-Rin tries to comfort him, reminding him that, thank goodness, it was only fake money. Staring at the crashing bars on the monitor, he gets super bummed that he let his gamer instincts take over and completely tanked his virtual account. Salty about the instant fail, Jinho complains, realizing his magical luck apparently doesn't work on Wall Street. The vibe gets super heavy as the two just watch the simulated chart show absolutely zero signs of life in dead silence. In that toxic environment, trades happen fast like literal knife fights, going down in tiny windows of a few seconds to minutes. This aggressive strat is famous for scraping tiny profits off massive volumes at terrifying speeds. Keeping his eyes glued to the screens, the team leader calls the shots for what everyone calls day trading. The firm's massive office is basically the ultimate hangout spot for junkies addicted to this daily adrenaline rush. Every second, a brutal psychological war is fought inside the traders' heads as they watch the colors brawl on the chart. The mouse click has to be pinpoint accurate, because a fraction of a second of lag decides the fate of massive fortunes. As soon as the bell rings and positions are locked, the final score of the day hits the team like a truck. On one side of the room, rage consumes the guys who lost it all, while on the other, traders celebrate their wins, riding a crazy dopamine high. Nearby, one of the assistant managers flexes about hitting an average yield of just over 1%, totally impressing his peers. Confused by the hype, the rookie asks his mentor if scoring a 1% profit is actually that huge of a deal. Smiling, she explains that if a senior is managing 20 billion, keeping that yield makes them an S-tier trader, generating an insane annual payout. Leaning on the desk, the woman reminds him of the golden rule in a firm like this: money does the talking. Smug about his daily score, assistant manager Lee kicks back in his chair, proving the point that being efficient is literally all that matters. Team leader Park praises the floor's killer performance and tells them to keep up the grind. Everyone bows to say thanks, while he announces that the real work is just getting started. He demands the squad crunch the daily profits and map out tomorrow's strats before they even think about clocking out. Just then, he spots the instructor walking up and asks if she needs to drop some news. The girl stands frozen in front of his desk, looking super awkward about the whole thing. To break the ice, the employee calls out to him, sounding visibly stressed. Sipping his protein shake, the boss asks what the deal is. Cutting to the chase, he bluntly asks if the rookie seriously maxed out a bid by mistake, and at market price no less. The woman admits it was probably just a slip up during the tutorial and says she's terrified he'll get a bad performance review on day one. Suspicious, the higher-up wonders if the mentor is just covering for the new guy's massive screw-up. Even so, he gets the hint and promises not to go too hard on him right out of the gate, telling her to just focus on the next huddle. Breathing a sigh of relief, Rin thanks him for being chill and promises she's going to train the kid right. Alone again, the exec turns his intense glare back to his PC screen, looking at the insurance asset Jinho elbowed into. He thinks it's absolute madness to invest in that during such a sketchy market. Since rookie mistakes like that happen all the time, he reminds himself that this is literally what paper accounts are for. Still, going all in at market price seemed way too crazy, unless he totally did it on purpose. The leader's eyes narrow as he tries to decode what the actual big brain play was behind that move. Soon enough, he brushes the thoughts away, deciding not to waste brainpower on money that doesn't even exist. Glaring at the kid from across the room, Park decides he's just an industry plant who ended up doing something stupid. With the official market closed, the real hurricane of paperwork finally unleashed on the office. A massive tidal wave of tasks and scrambling totally swallowed the staff all at once. The endless requests for analytics and prepping docs for the meeting required the team's absolute focus. Completely wiped out, the MC could barely process everything that went down in those last few crazy hours. When he finally snapped back to reality, he realized he'd been locked in there for 14 hours straight. Flashing a tired but happy smile, his mentor lets him know they're finally clear to head home. Walking toward the exit, she hypes him up for doing a solid job on his chaotic first day. Then, she playfully nudges him, making a joke about that tiny little noob mistake he made earlier. Totally awkward, he scratches his neck and tries to make sure the screw-up wasn't actually a big deal. Laughing at her coworker's panic, the veteran promises that nobody loses brownie points over a day one simulation. But she quickly backpedals, pointing out that their boss's hardcore personality might actually be an issue. Saying goodbye in the lobby, she holds him to his promise that he won't quit on her, no matter how tough the grind gets. She waves enthusiastically, telling Jinho to get some rest and be safe on his way back. Walking alone, the guy smiles, feeling super relieved he hit the jackpot by landing such an awesome mentor. The pure exhaustion hits him like a truck, and all he wants to do right now is pass out in his own bed. Out of nowhere, his phone blowing up totally ruins the peace and quiet of his night walk. Answering super fast, he tries to sound professional, but the CEO complains and tells him to just treat him like a bro off the clock. The boss asks if the workload was too crazy, while the rookie swears he's going to keep giving it 100% without complaining. Looking back at the insane pace of the office, Jinho admits he gained a massive amount of respect for the whole crew. The sheer volume of work packed with complex jargon and the non-stop stress of the trades totally scared him. Watching the crowds on the street, the MC realizes everyone out there was sweating for their paycheck, while he used to just sit around. Because of that, his old imposter syndrome kicks in, wondering if he really deserves to be sitting next to such hardcore people. On the phone, the entrepreneur tells him to drop the negative vibes, saying he completely trusts his own radar for talent. Switching gears, his buddy demands he log into the game immediately, leaving the guy totally annoyed since he literally just got off work. After getting hit with a cheap emotional guilt trip from his friend, the young dude starts sprinting, yelling that he's logging on. Looks like his marathon of a day was far from over tonight. Jogging through the neon streets, Jinho makes a sarcastic joke about how incredibly booked and busy modern men are. Bright and early the next morning, the firm's cold lights click on for another day of absolute mayhem. The whole squad was already at their stations, gearing up for the brutal opening bell. Wasting zero time, fast fingers on mice started setting the wild tempo of the floor. Instantly, The traders started shouting orders into their phones at breakneck speeds. Once the bell rang, the leader told everyone they had 15 minutes to prep for the next huddle. Scanning the afternoon charts, Park notices some stocks were acting crazy volatile, way out of the norm. The assistant manager says he already emailed the deep dive analytics so he could check it out in peace. Skimming the report, the exec mutters that the spike in interest rates is absolutely nuking the insurance sector. Suddenly, one super specific detail on the monitor catches his eye and makes him freeze in his chair. Totally mind blown, the boss's eyes go wide when he recognizes the ridiculous pattern popping up on screen. The mouse cursor was hovering over a massive spike in the exact same insurance company from the day before. A giant red bar of gains was ripping upward through the chart, completely breaking every logical rule of the market. Insanely enough, the dead asset had just skyrocketed a ridiculous 15% in one go. Shook, the superior stares over at Jinho's desk, realizing that was the exact same stock the rookie YOLO'd into. Right next to him, his mentor Rin is also staring at her monitor, completely stunned by the unreal profit sitting in the account. Slicing through the tense vibe of the room, the boss's deep voice calls the kid's name loud and clear. Looking super intimidating, the higher up demands they have a little chat right this second. His tone of voice leaves absolutely zero room to say no as he orders the employee to follow him to the manager's office. Far away from there, the city's relentless grind kept moving with packed trains pulling out of the main downtown station. The mob of burnt-out workers crammed onto the escalators, trying to get back to their places at the end of the day. Some were literally chugging energy drinks just to scrape back whatever life the 9 to 5 sucked out of them. Right now, Jinho was also feeling the sting of staying up late gaming with the boys after a crazy work shift. Meanwhile, his family was in total shock after finding out the name of the elite brokerage he just joined. Flashing the official text on his phone, the kid tried to convince his parents that a Wall Street giant actually hired him. His mom instantly called his bluff, brutally pointing out that someone with his grades would never get into a place like that. Trying to smooth things over, his dad backed him up saying he's always been a hard worker, which honestly sounded more like a low-key roast to the guy. Bursting with pride, the older man finally grabbed his son's shoulders to congratulate him on the massive W. They both smiled from ear to ear, just asking the kid to keep giving it 100% at the new gig. Thinking back on that wholesome subway memory, Jinho gets emotional realizing how long it's been since he saw his parents that hyped. Pulling up to the firm the next morning, Jinho decides he doesn't care if he's an industry plant. He's going to go all out. Right at the door, Rin welcomes him with a super hyped greeting. She notices the guy actually kept his word and didn't ghost the job. The rookie gears up to lock in and finally figure out if his magic hack is actually real or just a fluke. Just then, they both stare at the PC screen completely shook and clueless. That insurance stock the guy bought by mistake on the simulator had just mooned an insane 15%. Pure shock washes over them looking at that ridiculous bag he secured on a totally dead asset. Jinho is amazed, wondering if his weird gamer sense actually works in the stock market. He instantly gets salty, doing the math on the absolute fortune he would have made if it had been real cash. Out of nowhere, the team leader's deep voice calls the new guy's name, scaring both of them. Looking terrifying as usual, Park lets him know they need to have a quick little chat. The boss demands this meeting happen right now in his private office. Walking in, the kid instantly notices the heavy workout gear taking up space in the room. Watching his boss literally stretching his muscles right there, the MC thinks the whole vibe is completely bizarre. Chilling in his chair, the manager calmly asks if the new subordinate is handling the workload okay. Trying to sound confident, the guy swears everyone is cool and that he's doing just fine. The exec paces the room and drops the bomb that he's the only one on the floor who knows a very specific secret. He admits he knows darn well the kid is an industry plant put there by the CEO. Totally blindsided, the rookie sweats bullets at being called out so directly. The veteran warns him that rumors are going to spread fast, so he decides to ask a very blunt question. Super curious, the boss wants to know exactly what kind of connection the kid has with the head honcho. Remembering his bro's warning to keep the online gaming stuff a secret, he totally stutters. Backed into a corner, the young guy apologizes, saying he's absolutely not allowed to talk about it. Respecting the boundary, the superior just sighs and promises not to dig into the drama anymore. But he quickly pivots and demands to know the real big brain reason behind buying that insurance stock. The vibe gets super heavy again while the MC desperately scrambles to make up an excuse that doesn't sound completely stupid. The manager points out that the kid was paying attention during the meeting and heard the data on interest rates. It should be literally impossible for a noob to process all that info that fast, making his timing super sus. Pressuring the employee, Park tries to figure out if it was a genius play or pure gut feeling. Totally awkward, Jinho admits it was pure coincidence and that he just happens to have crazy good RNG. The team leader just stares at him in dead silence for a minute, analyzing that totally weird answer. Seemingly satisfied, the veteran dismisses the kid and tells him to just keep grinding at work. Out in the hallway, the guy lets out a massive sigh of relief, feeling like his heart was about to explode from the anxiety. Alone in his office, the boss squeezes his hand grippers, deep in thought about this whole luck thing. He remembers that the CEO built his entire empire strictly by hiring purely based on skill. Because of that, a ruthless guy like him would never just drop a clueless noob into the squad without a mastermind reason. Determined to crack the mystery behind this kid, Park calls the mentor in for a private chat. The employee quickly steps into the big office, waiting on standby for her next set of orders. A little while later, she walks back to her main desk looking completely lost in thought. Watching his coworker get closer, the MC notices she's anxious and gets super confused about what's going on. Flashing a massive smile, she announces that the boss told them to focus 100% on the simulator. The mentor assumes his insane 200 IQ play from yesterday is what scored them this awesome opportunity. Grinding on the virtual system means farming a ton of practical XP and leveling up in the company way faster. Beaming with joy, the girl pats her buddy on the shoulder and thanks him for bringing her along for the ride. Full of energy, she drags him to the meeting, demanding they lock in and learn every single detail. Relieved, he mentally celebrates the fact that he can just chill on the paper account for the rest of his shift. The projector lights up the big room, kicking off the tense daily huddle for the department. The assistant manager takes the floor, asking everyone to pull up the analytics reports they just got. The main quest of this morning meeting is mapping out the future of the massive EV sector. This deep meta-analysis happens religiously every single morning before the official market bell rings. Scribbling down the confusing corporate slang, the rookie thinks it's hilarious how these suits sound just like gamers calling out strats. Looking at his messy notes, he starts realizing the corporate meta isn't actually all that different from his late night raids. Just like setting up a boss fight, the traders were managing their cooldowns and targeting the right weak points. The only annoying part was trying to process this massive info dump while being a total noob in the class. Taking the podium, the boss warns them that they missed their monthly quotas, but tells them not to get greedy. Sounding super strict, the manager orders everyone to play it safe today and completely dodge risky plays. After the final warning, Park dismisses the squad and walks right past his two hyper-focused rookies. Right then, a senior trader asks the duo to grind out some boring, time-consuming data entry on certain materials. Instantly, the floor leader shuts it down, telling the guy to dump that busy work on someone else. Glaring at him, he makes it perfectly clear that those two already have their own specific main quests to finish. The boss shielding the newbies from the boring paperwork made his intentions pretty obvious to the whole floor. Totally safe from annoying side quests, the duo was ready to deep dive into their hardcore training. Kicking back in his fancy office chair, the MC thinks this whole setup is actually amazing. With the account totally immune to real-life losses, he sees this as the ultimate free-to-play moment to go all out. His hand rests steady on the mouse, feeling the heavy stakes tingling in his fingertips. Soon the charts start flashing like crazy on the screens, signaling the chaotic opening bell. His eyes scan the monitors, absorbing the absolute bloodbath between the buyers and the sellers. One of the assets completely tanks, painting a massive red bar of instant doom. Gripping his mouse super hard, the guy gets ready to prove his magic hack is actually OP. Staying totally chill amidst the corporate screaming, he tracks the flying numbers like a hawk. Out of nowhere, that weird energy starts tingling on his skin again, glowing with a light nobody else can see. The crazy phenomenon flashes in his eyes, confirming his ultimate game sense just got activated. A boss-level aura completely swallows the guy, bringing back the exact same ruthless confidence from his gaming marathons. Spotting a microscopic pixel, perfect opening, his finger smashes the button, firing off a lightning-fast order. A shiny pop-up appears on the screen, confirming the massive trade was locked in perfectly. Staring hard at the screen, The team leader tries to figure out what the heck just popped up on the system. Park notices that the second he gave the new kid a chance to flex, something totally bizarre went down. The paper account clearly showed Jinho had YOLO'd literally every single penny into just one stock again. Meanwhile, the giant office kept buzzing at its usual crazy, high-stress pace. At her desk, Hai-Rin pops her knuckles, totally hyped that her own play was absolutely flawless. Feeling good, she wonders if the rookie is pulling his weight, hoping she didn't just abandon him too much. But the second she turns her head to check on him, she scares at the fact that he's sitting perfectly still. Panicking, the mentor assumes the kid must have hated the grind so much his brain just blue-screened. The guy was just resting his hand on the mouse without moving an inch. Looking bored out of his mind, the MC realizes that since he blew all his cash right at the opening bell, he literally has nothing else to do now. Noticing the price of his play was currently nose diving, he sighs, annoyed, thinking he probably should have picked a stock that was going up. Just then, the veteran rolls her chair over to check his score, while he plays it cool, saying he did decently, bursting with pride. The girl flexes about scoring a 2% profit today, totally convinced she was the only one on the floor pulling numbers like that. Riding her own hype train, she leans over his monitor to see how her little Padawan did. Her smile instantly vanishes when she sees the disaster, absolutely horrified as she asks why on earth he went all in on one stock again. Giving him a massive scolding, the woman tells him he can't keep throwing out these noob mistakes and reminds him that the golden rule of the market is to always diversify. The rookie just takes the lecture while she explains that if he had split his cash, he wouldn't be eating such a brutal loss right now. Annoyed by the whole thing, Jinho knows he didn't buy it using actual logic and realizes even his super chill mentor wouldn't let a screw up like this slide. Completely caught off guard, the MC's eyes go wide when he hears the girl tell him he's staying late after work. Switching to a friendly tone, she says she's treating him to dinner and promises a crash course on how to not go bankrupt in this department. She demands a yes, making it super clear this wasn't an invite, it was a mandatory side quest. Beaming with relief, he agrees instantly, barely believing his insane RNG to land a coworker this chill in the middle of this mess. But the good vibes are instantly murdered by the heavy footsteps of a manager walking up and snapping at them about what was so funny. Manager Yang Mai. Ju crosses her arms, looking totally furious, asking if the two of them thought the corporate office was some kind of playground. Instantly, they both jump up and apologize, while the woman sighs, complaining that she's already burnt out and doesn't need them testing her patience. Turning her back in a huff, the supervisor tells the duo to scramble and prep the gear for the next meeting, and the two immediately bow to get to work. Clueless about why they just got blasted out of nowhere, the kid asks what happened, and his mentor taps him, telling him to just ignore the boss's bad mood today. Watching the manager walk away, the veteran whispers that the market's heavy turbulence basically nuked the manager's portfolio too. She warns him it's not just her. Practically the whole floor is on the verge of a mental breakdown, so it's best to stay off everyone's radar. Over at another desk, the toll of the disastrous day on the exchange was written all over the exhausted faces of the other traders. Totally defeated in the break room, the veterans were dumping about getting completely wrecked by the charts, even when they tried playing it safe. Staring into the void, they tried to cope by guessing that every other squad in the firm probably got wiped out too. Right in the middle of their pity party, the whole group gets scared by a deep voice telling them to stop crying over spilled milk. The tension in the room gets thick enough to cut with a knife when team leader Park stomps into the hallway, looking terrifying and telling the guys to fix their posture. Taking charge, the boss tells everyone to gear up for the strat huddle, saying he's just going to grab a quick coffee before he works them to the bone. Flashing a scary smile with his muscles practically popping, the big guy even suggests a quick workout in his office to help clear their heads. Terrified of having to sweat, the subordinates instantly dodge the offer and sprint to prep the analytics for management. Right after, the vibe in the break room shifts when a rival team leader walks in, immediately mocking the big guy's pathetic attempt to hype up his team in a bear market. Just as seasoned as his rival, Kim Hak, Tae leans on the counter acting all snobby, making a snarky comment about how bosses always carry the weight of the world. Kim steps up to his coworker and spits some venom, asking why he's been kissing the higher-ups butts so obviously lately. With a toxic smirk, the suit reveals his squad had a totally hellish day thanks to Park, since they had to carry his team's dead weight and do their grunt work too. The trash talk peaks when Kim makes fun of Park for literally letting the CEO's industry plant play games on the simulator all day. Totally unbothered by his rival's tantrum, the big guy just coolly replies that it's not about office politics, he just wanted to test a little theory. Turning his back to get back to the grind, Park says his only goal was to see if the new kid was just another noob or if he actually had cracked game sense for this job. Pretending to buy that weak excuse, Hack Tae drops a toxic warning, telling him to make sure the boss's golden boy doesn't completely blow up the floor's stats. Shooting him a dirty look, the suit reminds him that VIP connections don't save anyone here. And if the kid loses real company funds, it's Park's head on the chopping block. Happy that he got to stir the pot, the guy just waves and casually strolls off to harass his own burnt-out team for reports. Left alone in the empty hallway, the team leader just closes his eyes, super annoyed by his rival's cheap office politics. A bit later, the projector clicks on, and the big strat huddle kicks off in a completely dead vibe thanks to the day's massive wipeout. Breaking the heavy silence in the room, Park tells his team to drop the funeral faces because the match isn't over yet. In total control, the boss promises they're going to patch up the hole tomorrow by going super aggro on short positions when the Asian markets open. The big guy drops a strict order for the team to run pure defensive strats, but suddenly freezes when he notices something completely bizarre in the room. In the middle of the firm's total panic, the new kid was just sitting there, totally chill, casually taking notes like nothing bad was even happening. Sizing up the kid's total zen vibe, the veteran figures he's just lucky he's playing with fake money, since his portfolio was literally going up in flames right now. While the boss was glaring at the rookie in the back, the other traders were whispering in terror about how his resting angry face looked 10 times scarier than usual. Feeling a little let down, the exec kicks himself for buying into a stupid coincidence and actually thinking the industry plant was some kind of prodigy. To him, the lethal downward spiral in the kid's chosen sector would be completely impossible to dodge unless the sky literally fell. But the stock market always proves how brutally unpredictable it is. And the very next morning, the firm's shiny glass building was going to witness the ultimate plot twist. Eyes wide and hands literally shaking over his trading desk, the big guy was sweating bullets staring at the morning updates. Completely paralyzed looking at the massive news feed, the exec was watching the impossible happen live at the international opening bell. The news channels were blowing up in red, dropping a global emergency alert centered straight on Indonesia, the absolute final boss of the Asian mining market. Furious over the brutal price crash of their main resource, the country's officials decided on the spot to slash their global exports by 1/3 with zero warning. The nuke set off total chaos on the floor, with dozens of investors screaming in pure panic to close out their short positions before the damage multiplied. The ripple effect snapped the economy in half in seconds, shoving companies that desperately needed that material right off a cliff into massive losses. On the flip side of everyone else's misery, the rare companies that actually hoarded the stuff skyrocketed to the moon on an impossible rocket ship. Cutting through the absolute madness, Manager Yang sprints over to her boss's desk, shouting that she pulled the classified intel he just asked for. Freaking out over how huge this was, she reports that virtually nobody in the country had active safety nets, leaving exactly one mega corp swimming in hoarded materials. A flash of genius hits the exec's calculating brain instantly, connecting this one single lifeline directly to the insane play from yesterday. The supervisor smiles, totally amazed as she confirms the exact stock ticker, and totally innocently praises the leader for always being a 200 IQ step ahead of the meta. With veins popping from the stress of his clenched fists on the desk, the veteran listens to the woman hype him up for supposedly predicting this god-tier payout. The only thing filling the blank space in the battle, scared manager's head, was the face of the kid chilling in the back of that useless meeting. The rookie had this almost troll-like smile on his face the whole time, giving off the absolute zen vibe of someone who had already read the patch notes and knew he was going to win. Completely blown by the math, the floor boss literally couldn't comprehend how some outsider kid predicted a secret foreign government ban out of thin air. Far away from all the paranoid scrambling of the firm's management, the MC was still kicking back in his fancy leather chair, totally stress-free. That is, until his mentor pops up next to him radiating pure hype, dropping the massive nuke that the foreign country just deleted 30% of the supply and sent profits to the moon. Keeping up the act of a scared noob, the rookie fakes a dramatic gasp that makes his mentor proud of his over-the-top reaction. She mentions that until yesterday, the battery sector was basically dead meat, and everyone thought it would stay that way. But the whole meta shifted out of nowhere. Hearing this, Jinho connects the dots and realizes that the one random stock he YOLO'd into on the simulator ran purely on that exact material. Just then, the assistant manager walks by and asks if their squad didn't bet heavily against those exact stocks yesterday. His mentor calms her coworker down, promising they aren't going to take a massive hit because Leader Park forced everyone to turtle up and play defense. Super hyped about the boss's strat, she praises his absolutely cracked game sense for dodging market disasters. Way across the building, a loud knock echoes on a premium wood desk, signaling a heavy conversation is about to start. Department Head Lee is scanning some files, paying super close attention to the recent trade analytics. Team Leader Park barges into the office out of nowhere mid-shift and asks for a minute to talk about something incredibly urgent. The veteran announces he has a name to drop for the highly anticipated senior promotion, leaving his boss completely clueless. As soon as he drops Jinho's name, a loud shout of pure shock leaks through the closed doors of the executive suite. Someone angrily demands to know why the department wants to promote the literal clueless kid who was hand-picked by the company's CEO. While the drama pops off downstairs, the big boss Wang Dae-un is playing mobile games, complaining that playing against bots is totally boring. Sighing out of pure boredom, the billionaire wonders how his old gaming bro is holding up in the cutthroat server of his brokerage firm. Later on, after the absolute bloodbath of the closing bell, a solid round of drinks is poured at a restaurant table to finally chill out. His mentor drops some wisdom, saying that on days when the market tanks and everyone loses their shirts, the rookies need to know how to read the room. She warns him that a lot of the older guys despise seeing the newbies make more cash than them, and strongly advises avoiding eye contact with those salty losers. Giving him a live tutorial, she tells the kid to hunch his shoulders and fake a totally depressed face, like he's going through an absolute crisis. She even pretends to wipe away fake tears to really sell the drama, leaving the MC amazed at her dedication to the bit. Deep in thought, the guy wonders if his coworker would still be this wholesome and supportive if she knew he literally got the job through nepotism. Snapping him out of his imposter syndrome, the woman raises her glass and loudly calls his name, pulling his focus back to the hangout. The veteran comforts him, saying the paper account fails are just a tutorial punishment, and he shouldn't get depressed about blowing up his virtual wallet on day one. The guy just nods along respectfully, keeping his massive god-tier financial secret locked up for now. Fully dedicated to carrying him, the mentor promises to drop all her high-level strats for making bank while they just drink and chill. The very next morning, the sun hits the firm's giant glass tower, signaling the start of another insane lobby of day trading. The rookie's virtual monitor is currently flashing a completely broken 15% gain on that same EV battery stock. Staring blankly at the screen, the MC finally gets the absolute confirmation that his cracked gamer intuition works flawlessly IRL. Right beside him, his mentor is completely glitching out, unable to process the ridiculous profit numbers lighting up her student's dashboard. Absolute cringe washes over the employee, and she literally pulls her hair in panic, wanting to hit Alt F4 on life and vanish from the office to dodge the embarrassment. She feels like a total clone, remembering she spent the entire night flexing a tiny profit margin to a guy who was literally trading like a Wall Street god. Panicking, she practically begs him to leak his secret meta and promises to literally call him Master from now on for his tips. The guy tries to calm her down, claiming it was just some random RNG luck, but she shuts that excuse down, saying nobody pulls massive back to back used just by accident. Seeing his coworker completely lose her mind, the rookie realizes most people would be super salty, but she was purely hyped to see him winning. Touched by how wholesome she is, Jinho silently thanks his lucky stars that he got matched with someone so genuine in this lobby full of snakes. Up in the VIP management room, the rookie's flawless track record is slapped onto the desk, proving the absolute miracles he pulled off in under a week. Leader Park slams his hands on the table and hypes up how crazy the stats are, pointing out the kid's undeniable double ultra rare pulls on the simulator. Mind blown by the score, the department head can barely process that the kid sniped those exact options with literally zero help. The heavy silence from the team leader just backs up the fact that they have a literal cheat code walking around the noob lobby downstairs. Totally against this wild idea, The director argues that promoting someone so green will just spark a ton of conspiracy theories about the CEO's nepotism. Trying to cope with the miracle, the higher-up claims paper trading is easy mode, because the player doesn't actually feel the terror of losing their life savings. Sounding super intense, the leader asks what the board's reaction would be if all those god-tier plays had been made using the firm's actual heavy bags. The exec pushes back, noting that the profits only capped out because of server rules, and imagines the absolute nuke the kid's intuition could drop on the uncapped foreign markets, completely ignoring the office's weak PR politics. Park states as a fact that for a squad living purely off commissions, farming massive views matters way more than dodging watercooler gossip. He brings back the boss's own classic advisor: the golden rule is to always dump the heavy bags into the most secure assets when the storm hits. Locked into his new game plan, the veteran clenches his fist, announcing he's going all in on this kid's undeniable god-tier talent. The floor leader's blind faith is based 100% on the CEO's own radar, absolutely certain a mastermind like him wouldn't just spawn a useless player. Up in the sleek penthouse hallways, the click-clack of expensive shoes echoes, tracking the movements of the corporate elites. The advisory board is heavily breathing a sigh of relief that their turtle strats survived the crash, but they mock the weak players who rage, quit, and resigned mid-chaos. Having absolutely zero pity for the dropouts, CEO Huang states that the trading game completely drains your mental HP, and anyone who breaks that easily should just log off and find a new class. The yes men instantly agree, saying they're blessed to be grinding in the domestic server instead of the absolute bloodbath that destroyed the US markets today. Hitting the door to his massive private office, the owner of the firm dismisses the whole squad, saying he's going to drown in paperwork so he can actually enjoy his day off tomorrow. Completely drained by the morning raid, the boss sinks into his leather couch, desperately needing to recharge his own batteries before signing any more contracts. The businessman loosens his tie, trying to get some air while stressing over the mountain of pending files keeping him away from his gaming setup. Right then, his personal assistant cuts through the quiet room super respectfully, demanding the boss's immediate attention for a classified update. The secretary brings up the direct order she got last week to spectate the new kid Jinho's every move without him noticing the admin privileges. She drops the massive nuke that downstairs management literally just filed official paperwork to fast track that exact amateur kid to fill the rage quitters' spots. The big shot completely freezes, totally unable to compute how fast the server totally broke out of his carefully coded plans. The assistant stands at attention while the ultra-powerful CEO tries to reboot his brain after getting jump scared by the update. Annoyed with himself, the boss thinks it's pure madness to greenlight a rookie who doesn't know the first thing about real money PvP trades. Massive regret washes over the chief as he realizes he basically spawned his bro into the jungle and went AFK, leaving his secretary hanging for a final call. Snapping back into his invincible final boss persona, the guy looks up and decides he's absolutely not going to nerf or interfere with whatever is happening down there. He completely bluffs his assistant, swearing that this wildly rushed speedrun was totally part of his mastermind master plan from day one. Falling for his 5D chess acting, the woman quietly accepts the call and leaves the room to push the paperwork through. As soon as the door clicks shut, the boss's poker face shatters, showing his guilt for forgetting to build a proper tutorial zone to protect his gaming bro. Checking the damage logs, the financial veteran figures that skipping the boring, unskippable cutscenes might actually forge the exact killer instinct the noob needs right now. In the cautious CEO's mind, it's impossible that the aggro management will actually let Jinho risk billions before forcing him to prove himself by blowing up a few low-level accounts first. Staring out at the infinite skyline from his tower, the owner of the empire knows that tasting the pure acid of stress will prove if the kid actually belongs in this insane lobby or not. On a totally dead Saturday afternoon, while the city recovers from the week's economic wipeout, Jinho is slumped on the bus heading to the office. The burnout from his first corporate marathon is heavy in the MC's eyes, as he silently realizes just how much mental HP this new class drains every single minute. Walking onto the massive floor that's totally dead silent for the weekend, he breaks the ice by saying, "What's up?" to the only person actually sitting at a desk. Caught off guard by the kid's hardcore dedication on a rest day, his coworker says, "Hey back, actually pretty hyped to have a random duo partner show up." The mentor quickly explains that the empty Saturday shifts are purely for running post, Game reviews on the absolute mess the market left behind all week. Trying to make him feel better about the grind, she promises this torture only lasts a few hours and gives them that clutch double XP overtime pay at the end of the month. Staring at the massive stacks of dead data on his desk, the rookie tries to process how digging up irrelevant past lore is supposed to help them dodge the market's random RNG in the future. Impressed by the kid's totally focused and curious vibe while reading, the veteran trader calls him over to actually kick off the real tutorial for this overtime session. The guy remembers his mentor's comment about how the stock exchange ignores logic and just operates like one giant, rigged casino. Keeping that in mind, he asks if it actually makes any sense to burn their entire weekend just organizing and studying these old logs. His coworker completely agrees, confirming that predicting the meta of the economy is absolutely impossible, no matter how much you grind the textbooks. After all, the global servers are all linked, and one tiny butterfly effect across the map can trigger a massive financial wipeout over here. But even knowing the RNG is completely brutal, they still sweat it out trying to buff their win rates even just a tiny bit. The noob totally gets the message, figuring that trying to understand the code is literally their only move right now. Thinking it over, the MC gets annoyed realizing how companies expecting a level 1 player to have endgame stats is completely ridiculous. He thinks back to when he used to blame the server's bad job market for his own fails, using it as an excuse to just play games all day. While he was wasting time complaining about the devs, he realizes his mentor definitely had to grind like absolute crazy to secure her spot. A massive wave of cringe hits the guy when he realizes that relying purely on his magic cheat code was highly disrespectful to the players actually putting in the hours. Even though he has no clue how his weird hack works, he decides from today on, he's going to sweat his heart out to honor this insane drop rate he got. Completely wiped out from the overtime shift, the young guy sighs, realizing how grinding on a weekend totally deletes your stamina bar. Walking into his apartment, he announces super loud that he finally survived his massive marathon session at the firm. Then, the heavy silence of the place makes him stop, confused if he was actually the only one left in the lobby. Out of nowhere, a couch cushion flies across the room and headshots him, followed by a girl's voice sounding super annoyed by the dumb question. Salty about the surprise attack, the guy asks why she couldn't just ping him normally, and listens to the guest admit that sniping him with a pillow was way more fun. With absolutely zero guilt for the troll move, the girl welcomes her brother back and casually asks how his playthrough has been going lately.